Hello everybody, I'm Yoshikigami, president of Boss. I'm talking from Hamamatsu, Japan. So Jeff Sringarov is joining today from sunny California. Hello Jeff.
Hello, Yoshi-san. It's great to see you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Slingloff. I'm the product manager for Boss here in the United States, and we're talking with Yoshi Ikigami, president of Boss, on our bi-weekly-ish program that we do called Talk with Boss, which is great because we get to get some insight behind some of the product history, some of the insight from behind the engineers and thought process and stuff like that, which is just always insightful and enjoyable. So, Yoshi, could you tell everybody what today's theme is?
Yeah, today we are going to talk about pitch modulation compact pedal. So we sometimes talked about chorus pedals, but we have another pedals that we didn't talk at the Talk with Boss. So today we are going to focus to such pedals. So start with phaser.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about modulation pedals outside of the chorus, which we typically talk about. So yeah, originally, Boss' first three compact pedals were the OD1, the SP1, and the PH1 phaser. And these were awesome. They came out in 1977. They were red, yellow, and green. The green one being the phaser, and sometimes we refer to them as the stoplight series because the red, yellow, and green. But phaser was debuted in a very early era, and I think we can all remember what a phaser sounds like. We can all imagine what it sounds like, but most people have no idea of the mechanism and how an actual phaser works. Maybe you could tell us, Yoshi.
Yeah, so phaser, it's like just the name, using phase shifter and composite with phase shift circuit and dry mix circuit. So that's provide the phaser sound. So PH1 is using all-pass filter, 180-degree phase shift all-pass, 4 stages. And that is no phase shift at low frequency. And 4-stage all-pass filter mix to dry sound. Then that's provide 2 different frequency sound dip. And using LFO to change this all-pass filter phase turn frequency, moving by rate and depth. So that's provide a very unique phaser sound, just swirling phase effect, So the circuit is very simple. Just using PH1 is using rate and depth, 2 knobs pedal, and rate is changing from 100 millisec to 16 sec. So you can create very much variety of the sound by using this rate parameter. So PH1 is one of our first compact pedal. But before that, we had a Roland brand phaser. So AP5, phase 5 in 1974, AP2 phase 2, 1975, and AP7 jet phaser, 1975.
Yeah, those were all super cool. I even love the old metal work. We all, of course, love the compact pedal that Boss has been using for over 40 years now. It's such a standard. There's something really cool about some of those old Roland designs pre-Boss, from the AP5 to the CH1 and things like that. Love those looks and feel. Phaser, as you just mentioned, has a long history. And, the PH1, which was very much celebrated, we even had a 40th year celebration for it by including it in the Box 40 set, which was a limited run of those, the stoplight series, as we mentioned before. PH1R came out after it as a successor to the PH1, came out in 1980. And it introduced a new feature to phaser, which was cool. It was called Res. Do you want to tell everybody what that effect was?
Yeah, so PH1R is adding resonance control on PH1. So increasing feedback level of the phase shift circuit. So you can get some unique sound like a high Q filter sound, So that is enhancing phase sound and also adding some another unique sound like a wow wow, you know. So, and also PH1 out has 3 knobs, late depth res. So they are kind of like standard for next phasers.
Yeah, they were cool. Well, and then the next phaser that came out after that PH1 was in 1982. We came out with the PH2, which was called a super phaser. Along with having the rate and depth, which would be standard, it also had the res feature, which you just talked about, but it also had mode 1 and mode 2. Do you want to tell everybody what those were?
Yeah. So mode 1 is just very much simple 4-stage phase circuit that is like same to PH1. And mode 2 has 12 stages phase shift circuit. So, analog compact pedals having 3 times bigger circuit is very much difficult to put into the same shape of the pedal. But we decided to use Roland custom VCA chip that is used for keyboard synthesizer. So we could put into the same compact pedal shape with 4 stage and 12 stages.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty interesting. This is early 80s, and a lot of new technology is coming out, but we've got this new style of pedal, the compact pedal, and trying to fit so much inside of it. SDE 3000 for the DD2. Somehow you had to shrink this down. And
at that time, we are very much crazy to just put everything to compact pedal shape.
Yes, right. Very interesting that you guys did so much then, including what you did on the phaser. And the PH2 sold for 17 years, I think, and then was followed up by another hit product that's been selling forever, which is the PH3, which was introduced in the year 2000. So it's now been running for 22 years. PH3 introduced a lot of different things. Do you want to talk about the features of the PH3?
Yeah, PH3 has much wider variation of stage. I said 4 stage is very much regular. And also PH1R has 12 stages, but PH3 has another 2 mode, 8 and 10 stages. So PH3 has 4 stages, 8, 10, 12 stages. And also PH3 has another unique mode that is fall and rise. The fall provides some continuous falling down sense, and rise is continuous rising sense. So they are very much world first phase type sound. So how to realize such a unique fall and rise sound is we are having 2 LFOs, and they are working like opposite inverted phase. So one LFO using rise, then switch to another circuit, then you can feel like always falling down or rising up. So that is very much unique. And also PH3 has step mode that is changing LFO as a step, not continuous sound.
Yeah, and those were really unique. Like as you said, rise and fall. It's like instead of having the LFO move up and then down, it's one moves up, then it switches to the other, which is moving up. So it's just like one new one, and it's a rise. It's such a cool, really interesting effect. And and for the audience out there, please check out a PH3 if you haven't, because not only will it do what you would expect and love, like a classic 4-stage, flanger, but it's got unique effects like that as well, and more extreme settings like the 12-stage with the feedback high, the resonance set really high, can do some really unique things. So if you haven't checked that one in recent times, please do. So those are all cool, and we could talk about them forever, and would love to. but it's a limited time show. So maybe we can talk about a different pedal. What would you like to talk about next?
Yeah, how about the flanger?
Classic.
Yeah, very classic. So before we released compact pedal flanger, we had a Boss BF1 flanger, big one. That's released in 1977.
Yeah. So originally the term flange or flanger, before flangers were done, came from the recording industry and using two tape machines and pushing on the flange that holds the tape on it. But I don't know that people understand exactly what's going on there. Could you maybe describe the process and how it got put into a pedal?
Yeah, at the recording studio, the people accidentally found that effect, right? Probably. But it's, having how to realize such sound is by using short delay and really short delay, and also adding a delay and dry sound. Then that works like a comb filter. Very short delay and mixing delay sound and dry sound. So low frequency is just adding level, but some frequency they are 180-degree different inverted phase. Then they are cancelled. So that means from low to high, making dip and another dip and dip. That looks like comb. So we call that comb filter. And also modulate delay time by LFO. Then that comb is moving, Then you can get some phase shift and also pitch change. That is flanging effects. So that circuit is similar to chorus, but chorus is just adding delay sound and also a little bit longer delay time. So flanger uses much shorter delay time and using feedback. So that's the sound difference. So if you have digital delay, please try to realizing the same sound. So set the delay time to 3 milliseconds or something, and add LFO modulation. Then you can get flanger sound. 3 millisecond delay, but the frequency is changing phase 180 degree. Is 333 hertz, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what is happening if you put in 666 hertz to 3 millisecond delay and mixing dry sound, Jeff?
It gets canceled out.
Oh, you know well.
Yes, I have some experience with this.
Yeah, good. So short delay is having such a deep point. So 333, 666, 999 or something. Mm-hmm. So that is a comb filter, and that is a character of flanging sound.
Yeah, and it may use a similar circuit to what's in a chorus, but chorus tends to sound like it's adding fullness and thickness and doubling, where this kind of gives you this moving hollowness on the harmonics, which is really interesting, and it's super cool. Our flanger to me does a great job of sounding a lot like those classic records that were tape flangers, right? Mm-hmm. Some digital flangers and some of the other manufacturers' flangers, they can sound more like a pedal, but ours to me sounds like a good tape replacement. It's pretty amazing. After the flanger, we had the BF2, which came out in 1980, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So BF2 has 4 knobs. It's the same to current BF3. Manual knob is set the center frequency, and res knob change resonance, feedback level, and depth and rate change LFO speed and depth.
Right. And when, just so people know, when we talk about manual mode setting the center frequency, like when Yoshi was giving the example of 3 milliseconds being 333 hertz, right? That would move it from like 2 milliseconds or like 4 milliseconds, and that becomes the center frequency, but it's modulating positive and negative from that, and that can really change which harmonics it sits on, which is a really fun feature, right? And it can also be kind of fun to like set the speed really slow and then just move that around a little bit, because it kind of gives you like almost like a cocked walk kind of thing, right? But not necessarily. It's really cool. After this product, we made several things from the BF2 that followed it. There was the HF2, which was the high band flanger, which was a flanger that worked mainly on the higher octave tones. It was cleaner, it was brighter, stayed in those upper harmonics, which was nice. We did the BF2B, which was a low frequency based, and that was totally unique and fun. And then in 2002, we introduced the BF3, which is still available and is just an awesome flanger for anybody looking for a great flange. That just super awesome. So that's great.
Yeah, this year is 20th year anniversary of BF3, maybe. So Jeff, could you explain about the BF3 features?
Yeah, there's some great features on it, right? Which we were just talking about. So obviously there's standard mode, which gives you your basic classic flanger effect, right? That short delay that's modulating, giving you those comb filters that are moving on your harmonics. Ultra mode is the same thing, but really amps up how much that comb filtering is digging in and really making things have that strong effect on them. There's gate pan, which is very unique, connected in stereo. This can add a panning effect, which is super cool, where it's working back and forth. You can even make it sound like a slicer, where it's moving back and forth a little bit more. And then, of course, one of the things I love is that there's momentary, where the pedal doesn't have an on-off, except for when you press and hold the pedal. And like if we all know this, the Van Halen reference, of the song "Ain't Talking About Love." Which interestingly, I've heard the studio tracks of that, and basically he recorded the flanger on a second track. So he played the first part dun, 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 on one track, but the wow wow was the second track with the flanger always on, right? But with this, you could just hold down the momentary switch and get that effect whenever you need it, right in the middle. So we've got a solution for you for live that works great on that.
Yeah. So BF3 is a successor of BF2, long seller model. So we wanted to add some new mode and also improving the sound. So, that is kind of like a both style, improving basic sound and also adding some new feature, And also BF3 has guitar and bass dedicated input. So that's changed not only input filter, but also inside of processing, changing drastically.
Yeah. So, the BF3, it realizes a lot of different settings, which is really great. And it's, please, go up and check them out online and on our website, because they're fun flanger and really will get you a lot of places with one pedal, tonefully and fun to use.
So it's a very good opportunity to see the waveform of phaser and flanger. So, yeah, oscilloscope is always ready. So now, yeah, this is very much familiar waveform, a chorus sound. Just adding modulated sound onto dry sound. How about phaser? Phaser provides much more complicated waveform. And this is full stage. And if you turn up resonance, that change is much more complicated. And
Yeah, you can see that high frequency starts to get much more sharp on that.
And also changing stages, 8, 10, 12. So you can see much more wave. So that shows how many dip point each stage setting has.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you see that like when it gets to that big jump, when they all kind of get in phase with each other for a second, and they make that lumpy sound, which we all like in some classic phaser sounds. So totally cool to see.
Yeah, and also this is phaser. As I said, phaser is very much similar to chorus, but adding sound is much more characteristics, right? And
yeah, flanger?
Yeah, flanger. So up the resonance. It's much more heavy sound.
Yeah, and I like how, you know, as the delay gets closer to 0, you see it like gets slower for a second, and it gets that big thick waveform, and then it kind of races out to, you know, 3-5 milliseconds, and then rushes back to, you know, closer to 0. And you know, that's they're really musical in that way, that they're organic and feel very fun to play.
Yeah. So this is chorus. So do you guys get the difference of flanger and phaser?
Yeah, one of the things that I was just expressing was the rate of them moving back and forth. With the chorus, you can see that it's very like a sine wave, where it very much, you know, moves back and forth from its distance, you know, at a very even rate, you know, short and long. And then you know, with the flanger, you can see it kind of races in one direction, which is kind of fun.
So this time I'm using square wave. Always we are using sine wave for distortion, overdrive, but this time we want to check the phase. So we prefer square wave.
Yeah, because you got that nice clean edge, so you can see what's going on there.
Yes.
Yeah. So we could talk about these all day long, and of course, you know, playing with them is even more fun than talking about them. But talking about them is a lot of fun. But I think we've got some more pedals we could talk about in the modulation category. How about octave pedals?
Oh yes, a lot of people love octave pedal sound. So OC2. We released OC2 in 1982. So we keep selling this pedal until 2005. 23 years, very long life pedal.
Yeah, OC2, you know, today it's still popular. You know, people are still seeking them out. You know, lots of fans of the OC2, and lots of amazing hit records that have been done with OC2s from every major artist you can think of. They're just a great pedal to add so much guitar character, and many people love the sound and character of it. But I don't think anybody really understands exactly what we're doing. You think maybe you could give some insight on how it gets that unique character, Yoshi?
Yes, OC2 has very much unique both original circuit, and that is a little bit difficult to explain only talking. So we are preparing some drawing. Yes, this upper waveform is input signal, and down is lower one is processed. You know, OC2 is having embedded signal inside, and also tied to original sound, original waveform, and embedded sound. So you can see, you know, second wave, it's embedded and going down, and tie both. Then you can get 1 octave down sound. And also we are using a totally original dry sound. So that keeps same overtone, harmonics, and also nuance of the sound. So that provide octave down sound with your original play sound nuance. So before OC2, octave sound requires very much pre-processing filter, that cut of the high frequency. So that cannot provide very smooth sound. So after we released OC2, a lot of guys copied this circuit.
Yeah, it was very much very much copied amongst pedal manufacturers, but the OC2 has its own classic sound, which is great, and it had its lower octave, 1 and then 2 octaves lower, which was great. Had the ability to turn off the dry signal, which was great, so you could blend it in or use it. And they work in like a lot of modulation pedals. There's no rule whether or not it needs to be pre-distortion or post-distortion, right? You can find great usages for using octave pedals, in front of your distortion pedals, after your distortion pedals, or even like in your effects loop, like post-distortion on your amp. They can be really, really cool. So just like all modulations, please, find your own special place for them. But as, with the OC2, you saw it on lots of professional pedal boards, right? And the successor of the OC2 came out in 2003, which was the super octave, called the OC3.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest features probably was the poly mode, which allows you to play chords, isn't it, Yoshi?
Yeah, exactly. So polyphonic octave was world first technology. And also that technology is continued to MDP, multidimensional processing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also OC3, you can set the frequency range of the effective by using range knob. So you can select only low frequency sound to add the octave down sound. So that is good for some acoustic guitar players, or even electric guitar players. They want to add some bass line, so they don't want to add some high note.
Yeah, well, and so acoustic guitar players really gravitated towards OC3, right? Especially players who did tapping and things like that. The poly mode on the OC3 was a big thing. It was pretty cool. And then in 2020, we released the OC5, which really was a kind of a new standard because it had a lot of enhancements over its predecessors, the OC2 and the OC3. Why did you decide to make the OC5, Yoshi?
Yeah, a lot of guys requested us to revival of OC2, but just making all the stuff is not so fun. So we think, they want to get OC2 tone, So I was talking with a lot of musicians, and they also said they love OC2 tone and want to have OC2 again. Maybe very famous guys were using OC2, like Eddie Van Halen, Richie Blackmore, and Jeff Beck. So people want to copy or using same effect. So we analyzed OC2 very much, the circuit of how generate the octave down sound, and also circuit analysis and the parts. Every detail we analyzed. And OC2 sound is very good, but that technology still had mistracking. So we wanted to realize same OC2 tone with latest technology, and then we can provide some very natural and accurate tracking. And also OC5 has no latency. That is very much huge advantage of OC5.
it's OC5. You can play pretty much whatever you want as fast as you want, and it will always just be there, which is great. And OC2, it could occasionally have tracking issues. In some ways, OC3 was better at tracking than OC2, but there was a harmonic character, especially when it was pre-distortion, that people really gravitated to for the OC2. So what's really awesome about the OC5 is it has a vintage mode, which kind of gives you the best of all worlds, because it gives you the OC2 sound and its harmonic character that people liked, but it tracks much better than a traditional OC2 does, which is pretty cool. And then along with that, we added, some other modes, because you have the poly mode that you can do on the OC5, which is cool. And it has, a range knob on it, so you can actually get a little bit more dialing in, including lowest note only, which is cool. So not only can you get poly mode where you can play chords that you want and it will track the full chord, you could get classic vintage OC2, which tracks and plays better, like as fast as you can play. And then you have this thing where you could do, walking jazz bass lines over top of your comp chords, and you only hear it on the low note, which is really, quite an evolution, right? For things that were going on there. So, it's a big evolution over the previous models.
Yeah, we've got a lot of requests to add the lowest note octave function. And also that was not easy by using previous technology. But we are developing a lot of category of the product, like a guitar synthesizer, GR and SY. They have, polyphonic capability and also how to analyze the input signal. So we are using such a latest technology from the other product. So we could realize that lowest octave function, and that is good for, as you said, acoustic guitar, finger picking player. They are playing as a chord, arpeggio, but just want to get the bass line. So that works very much. And also, OC5 has another new function, plus 1 octave mode. So that provides much high-end sound, totally new.
Yeah, because the high, it basically almost gives you, a 12-string effect if you want, right? One, you can go 100% wet and do just 100% octave, which it's super fun for. Because I sometimes do a lot of tracking with like Nashville tuning, which is all octave strings. Great way to try and get that and have that really kind of synthy upper octave thing, which is fun. And it can be blended in quite nicely. So OC5 is quite the pedal for people. And on the SY1, which came out just shortly before it, there is a bass mode and there are bass sounds on there. But I find the two to be very different, and good reasons to have both, depending on what you're looking for. But it is nice that you can get some bass stuff on there. Additionally, there is a bass switch on the OC5, so you can actually use your bass guitar with it. So if you want to get those classic like 8-string, Ibanez bass sounds, you could do that from it pretty quickly. Really cool.
Yeah. By the way, we started to provide bass compact since 1987. And we released in 2000 AW3 and OC3 in 2003. We have dedicated guitar and bass input. But now we have a lot of, pedals which has switch the guitar and bass, like as you said, OC5 and SY1.
Yeah, so yeah, it's nice that function is on there, because they'll work for either instrument, which is great. And what I do, if you have anything else that basically has a 1/4-inch plug on it, an old, analog synth or something like that, the SY1 and OC5 are both great pedals, along with a lot of modulation pedals. The first time I remember ever seeing a Boss pedal, I was in like 5th grade, and somebody was playing a Rhodes keyboard at an assembly, and they had I think a chorus pedal from Boss on it. I'm like, what is that? Right. And the guy reaches up and pushes it on it. So that was the first time that was the first time I remember seeing the box shape, the size and everything like that. And then 2 years later, I was addicted and buying them constantly. So, well, Yoshi, thank you for the deep explanation on these. It's always interesting to hear, from the source and get some education on these things. For everyone at home, there are sound examples for acoustic, electric, and bass guitar available on YouTube channels. Please go check them out. And even more fun, buy them, put them on your pedal board, and experiment, because there's a lot that they offer. But for some of them, like the OC5, please go to the web page at boss.info and look up the OC5, because there's actually, we've partnered with Tonepedia, and you can go up there, and Tonepedia has examples of guitar performances, and you can choose the performance type and then choose the knob settings on the OC5 in real time. So you can actually hear some of the cool things that it can do, audibly, and you're selecting what's being done. So it's quite fun. So please go up there and check that out. And thank you to the guys at Tonepedia for helping us out with that. And if we have to say thanks to anybody, it's you, Yoshi. Thank you for we introduced history of products, the mechanical aspects of them, the technology and innovation of them. It was an eventful little discussion about modulation. So thank you. We got more products coming, I'm sure, right? So when is our next stream, Yoshi?
Yeah, usually we will have next one on February 23rd, but that is a national holiday in Japan. So I'm not available, so please accept, we will skip one. So next would be March 9th. And also in March, we will have 3 times this program, because including carryover from February.
Okay, great. And do you know what the next theme will be?
Oh, next theme, we will announce that on March 3rd. That means...
Right. So please stay tuned. On March 3rd, we'll hear what we're going to be talking about 3 times in March, which will be great. And the first stream will be, the next stream will be March 9th. It'll be 7:30 a.m. in the UK, 4:30 p.m. in Japan, and the evening before, March 8th, in Los Angeles at 11:30 p.m. As always, thank you everyone for coming and listening. Please leave your comments and impressions below. Subscribe and follow, and let us know what you think about this, or if you have additional questions for future topics that you'd love to hear Yoshi talk about. And everyone, will see you next time. So thank you, Yoshi.
Yeah, thank you everybody to join. See you next. Thank you. Bye.